Welcome everybody to another QB Power Hour. Today's topic is managing accounts receivable and AR collect. I'm very glad to have you guys all joining me today. Hopefully you got some of those corporate tax returns filed yesterday if you do taxes, and joining us today, I'm glad to have you here during the busy season. So our agenda today, we'll talk just a little bit about QB Power Hour and our host. I'll discuss the CPE process and ACE CPE for those of you that need that. Our topics and learning objectives. First of all, we're going to talk about how to manage accounts receivable in QuickBooks. So the first part will be about QuickBooks. Then we're going to learn about managing accounts receivable and collections with ARCollect. It's a collections and management application, and it does work with both QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. So I'm going to be demoing AR in QuickBooks Online, but this ARCollect will work with both desktop and online. So a little bit about our QB Power Hour. It's a free webinar series every other Thursday for the most part. Now in April, please make a note. We're going to skip, I think it was like April 13th, we're going to skip that week and go to the next one. So there'll be 3 weeks in between in April. So make note of the change there. It is on the website. So next time we're going to be talking about, again, some of those tips for your Find a Pro Advisor profile. Go over some suggested wording for you on the About Us thing so you can get some good leads from that. And we'll also talk about some social media tips. And on March 30th, that is a ACE approved webinar. So those of you that are advanced certified, that's an ACE webinar that you can get your ACE credits. All right, so QB Power Hour, we talk about tips, tricks, and advanced insights on desktop and online. And often we'll have special guests like we do today with some third-party apps that are very useful, relevant apps that we think will help you with your small business clients. So we also want to thank our platinum sponsor, T-Sheets. It's the #1 rated app in the App Store, and I absolutely love it. If you haven't checked that out yet, keep in mind they do give Pro Advisors a free account for your own use, so you might want to check that out. My name is Michelle Long. Those of you that don't know me, I'm the owner of Long for Success, and I'm thrilled to be a trainer for Intuit. Started training with Intuit in 2007, but I first started teaching QuickBooks in 1999. So I love helping people learn about QuickBooks. Glad to have you guys joining us here for this today. Hector Garcia is my partner in crime, but he is knee-deep in taxes with tax season. So I'm covering all these like he does for me when I'm on the road traveling. So I'm covering it for us. But Hector, hang in there. You got 1 more month tax season, then you'll get a breather. And then today we also have Ivan with ARCollect. Ivan, would you like to introduce yourself? Unmute, Ivan.
Hi, everybody.
There
I'm
you
unmuted.
are.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to taking you through the program today. And any questions you've got, we're here to help. We'll catch you in a bit after Michelle has introduced you to the Intuit functionality.
All right. Thank you, Ivan.
Thanks.
And he is joining us
Sure.
all the way from, is it Cape Town, South Africa? Is that right?
That's right.
Yes. Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Yeah, and we'll hear from Ivan more in a little bit.
Thank you.
Just a reminder about some of the upcoming events. Remember, at Intuit's Accountant University, you always have free webinars going on every single week, and so you can check those out. Also, the live city tour, we're going to be starting up with that again in May, coming to various cities across the U.S., so qbtrainingevents.com. Scaling New Heights in Orlando, Florida in June. It's a great event. If you can join us, we'd love to have you there. And then the creme de la creme, QuickBooks Connect, the most fabulous conference ever in San Jose again this year. So we'd love to have you join us for any of those. All right. So, whoops, that's enough about some of that. Now let's talk about the CPE process. As you know, if you need continuing professional education credits, you need to be on this webinar listening to it live, not the recording. You have to be logged in for at least 50 minutes. We're going to have 4 polling questions throughout the webinar today. You need to answer at least 3 of them to get that CPE credit, and then your CPE certificates will be mailed in about 3 weeks. We are a little behind on CPE right now just because it is busy season, but we will be getting those out to you soon. And today is not ACE approved, but March 30th is an ACE approved one. All right? So let's get right in and talk about managing accounts receivable in QuickBooks. And now I'm going to be demoing and using it in QuickBooks Online, but the process and things are very, very similar, basically the same workflow and everything in QuickBooks Desktop as that you have in QuickBooks Online. So manage accounts receivable in QuickBooks. First of all, you got to go in and customize some of those accounts and settings. And I'm going to go ahead and go into QuickBooks here. There we go. And I'm in the sample company Craig's. There's a few things I wanted to point out to you. Under the big gear on the top and under accounts and settings, before you start working with invoices and sending them out and all that, you may want to come in here and customize that invoice, upload your logo, do all that. Then in here under your sales form content, this is where you're going to specify, what do you want on your invoice? What are your preferred invoice terms? And here's a little trick that I learned. It's actually you will get paid faster if you say net 10 or net 15 than if you do the net 30. If you do net 30, people sometimes will kind of forget about it. If you do net 10 or 15, a lot of times they will just go ahead and pay you now so that they're not late and stuff. So you might want to consider changing those terms to a shorter period. Also then, what's your preferred delivery method? In a little bit, I'm going to talk about emailing these invoices. So e-invoicing, and that's what I think it's over 65% now of the small businesses are emailing their invoicing. People aren't printing those out and mailing them with snail mail anymore. They're emailing those and getting paid online. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. So what's your preferred email method? I usually put none because I email them as I'm going along. You might want to do send later and email them in batch. That's up to you. Do you have any shipping stuff that you need to put in there? You can have 3 custom fields that will show up on your invoice. That's one of the things that you might want to do is put it on the invoice, like the crew or maybe the manager's initials or the sales rep or something like that. If you want to be able to edit the number of the invoices. So if you want to set the first number, you want to edit and change those invoice numbers as you need to check this box here where it talks about the custom transaction numbers. If you don't check that box, Intuit or QuickBooks will keep incrementing them incrementally, like 1001, 1002, 1003, but you can't go in and change or edit those numbers if you need to. So you got to check that box to be able to do that. One of the things that's really cool in QuickBooks Online that you do not have in QuickBooks Desktop is the ability to have a service date. So this sample company is Craig's Design and Landscaping. Let's say Craig goes out and he mows the grass every single week, but he doesn't want to invoice for it until month end. Or maybe you've got an attorney. They're working on a case for a client and they're putting their hours and their time in all throughout the month, but then they want to invoice at month end. So with QuickBooks Online, you could be putting that in either as billable time, or you can also put it in as a delayed charge. And so if you're putting those things in, like let's say as a delayed charge or billable time, you can see a service date on the line of the invoice that will be different than the invoice date. So you can actually show the date the work or the service was performed and then have the invoice date like be at the end of the month or something. So that's kind of handy for some clients. And then also if you've got discounts, you check that box. And then deposits. If you're receiving deposits or prepaids, retainers, whatever you might call them or your clients might call them, you can put that directly on an invoice. That's one of 3 different options. You may also just leave it as a credit on their account, or you may want to set up items for unearned income and have a liability and all that. All 3 of those methods and which one you should use are contained in Module 3 of the Advanced Certification Materials. So if you need to deal with deposits, retainers, prepaids, whatever, I encourage you, you've got access to the training materials, even if you're not working on that advanced cert yet, go in there and check out Module 3 and it will talk about what to consider and which method might be appropriate for the situation with your client. Also then, here's some other stuff. Do you want to show the product or service item? Let me go ahead and save that. Do you want to show the product or service column on a sales form? With QuickBooks Desktop, you always had to have the item on there, I think. I can't remember for sure now. But you can actually take it off. So you can just have like the description of the services or the work performed. You wouldn't have to have that product or service item showing there. Do you want to have a SKU number? Do you want to track quantities and the price and rate? So in other words, do you want to enter like a quantity in hours the hours and the rate, or do you just want to enter the work performed and it was like $1,000? So there's various options depending on what you and your clients need. Then if you are using inventory, you check this box right here, and remember, inventory in QuickBooks Online is a FIFO basis, whereas desktop is average cost. Okay, so just remember that. You can customize your emails that you're sending out to your clients here. So you go through and customize them, and you can choose, what you want it to say and all that stuff. So you can customize your template. You can also email a copy of yourself. Here's like a CC and a BCC if you need to do that. So up here you'll see we've got one for an invoice. Down here we've got one for an estimate. So you can create some different default messages. Then also under the online delivery, this is where I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, where you can email these invoices. Okay, you're going to be able to email these out, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, because we don't want to attach it as a PDF. We want them to click view the invoice, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then here's the aging table at the bottom of the statements. If you're doing a statement, do you want to show the aging, like how old those are? So that's kind of handy. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you've customized and you set up all the settings and things like that. You've got it the way you want to. Then when we're ready to do an invoice, we click on the plus for our quick create. Come over here and click on invoice, or you can use the keyboard shortcuts. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose Amy because she's at the top of the list. I always choose Amy. I'm going to pick Amy, and I want you to notice on the right side over here, this slides out. These are some things that I entered, like some billable time, billable expenses, things that you may have that you want to add onto this invoice. So let me just open one of these and show it to you. Let's go ahead and exit without saving so I can show it to you real quick. Here's this billable expense. This came from when we entered an expense. Okay, so I'm going to click on the expense here, and you'll see we marked this column for billable and indicated a customer name. Same thing like if we were entering time. All right, so let me go ahead and click on time activity, and I'll just go previous here. Here's one where I entered it for Amy. It's marked billable, and the customer's put in there. So when you're marking time or expenses as billable, then when you go to create that invoice, they're going to pop out on that right side over there, where you could go ahead and just add those. Let me choose Amy again. We can just add all of those. You could filter by certain ones. I'm just going to go ahead and do add all. Then you could also go ahead and add some additional things down here if you needed to. Also, the other thing that I love about the invoices and when you email them is you can actually attach your receipts down here in the bottom. So like, for example, when I invoice Intuit, I'll have like an Excel file with my expense report, and then I'll have like, a PDF of the airfare or the hotel or whatever. When you save and send that invoice, it can also send the attachments if you tell it to. So that's kind of handy. Or maybe Craig, he finishes all this landscaping and he wants to take a picture of the new flowers and bushes and all that. Here's the job when it was completed. You could attach a picture down there as well. So you go ahead and you enter your invoice. Let's go ahead and do save and close. And then what happens next, or what do we hope happens next? Hopefully we get paid, right? So that would be the next step in the process. You receive that payment. So you can come on in here, choose who it was, Amy's Bird Sanctuary. I could come down here and choose the invoice, and if it's a partial payment, for example, I could come over here and say, well, she paid me $500 this time. So you could actually enter the amount received. If it's not the full amount, just come over to this far right column under the payment tab and do that. And now I'm going to go ahead and do a save and close. So I've received my payment. And then, as you know, the last step of the process would be to go ahead and make that bank deposit. Okay, so over here on bank deposit, I'm going to go ahead and select. I entered 3 payments that I received today, so I'm going to select them all to make one bank deposit. So you'll select those that went into undeposited funds. We're going to go ahead and select and close those. So your basic workflow is the same in QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. Let me go ahead and pop into these slides, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, I didn't go over an estimate. If you are doing estimates, you would enter that first, and make sure under the company settings that you check the box that says to copy the estimate to the invoice. Normally it's going to be checked, but go in there and double check that that's in there. And then you can copy that invoice or that estimate onto the invoice and edit and make changes as needed. Now let's talk a little bit about the online invoices and QuickBooks payments. Where did I put those slides? OMG, I lost those slides. All right, bear with me for 1 second, everybody. I put them in there, but I must not have saved them. I'm going to pop out here because I do want to show you this because more and more people are using the online payments and e-invoicing, and so it's really cool. So let me just pop this up for you very quickly. Online invoices. There we go. So back where I was showing you under the settings, this is where you would indicate that you want it to be an online invoice, and usually we select the HTML email. If you just want to email it, you don't want to have it attached or send it as an online invoice. So select the online invoice and uncheck this box. We do not want to attach it as a PDF. And I know what you're thinking, but Michelle, my clients want a PDF, they want to print it out and da-da-da. They can still print it out, but don't check that box. And the reason for that is you want them to click View Invoice, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. So you can do e-invoicing and email these invoices to your customers and all of that without QuickBooks Payments. But if you want to use QuickBooks Payments, once you sign up for that, you'll have the ability to get paid online. So let me show you that real quickly. Let me go into, I got to go into Larry's Landscaping. Let's go right here. Oh, come on. All right. There we go. All right, so in Larry's Landscaping, in the sample company, Craig's Design, you won't see the payments in the settings area. So I'm going to click on this gear under Account and Settings. No, I don't want you to close that. Sorry. Under the settings, account and settings, here's payments. This is where you can receive those ACH or e-check or bank payments or credit cards. So if you come up here and you click on Learn More, there is a free version, and it's now free to get paid with an ACH or an e-check. Those of you that are in Canada or other countries, you need to check what's available in your countries. What I'm talking about here is specific to the U.S., our QuickBooks payments. I do believe you have payments like in Canada, but I'm not sure what your fees are and things like that. So you can sign up with no monthly fees, and you can receive those e-checks for free, and then here's your rates for when they're paying by a credit card, stuff like that. So that's kind of helpful. If you want to sign up for that, it's really great. All right, let me go back over to QuickBooks here. Okay, back over to my slides. Sorry about that. All right, so we were showing you how this is going to work. So I've signed up for the payment options, and this is what's going to allow this to show up. Now, I usually uncheck the credit card because I don't like to get paid with the credit card. The fees are higher. I'd rather than pay with the bank transfer, which is free. So I kind of encourage that one for people, but I can do that if I want. This is where when your client gets the invoice, you don't want it to be an attached PDF. You want them to click where it says View the Invoice. And the reason for that is, especially, and this is true in QuickBooks Online, when you send the invoice, that will be included in the history of that invoice. You will be able to see the date and the time that that was emailed. You can also see that on some of your centers, which I'll show you in a few minutes here in QuickBooks. Also then, though, when they click View Invoice, it will record the date and time they looked at it. So you know that they got it and that they've looked at it. Then over here, this is where they're actually going to be able to pay now. And see right here where it says Print and Save as PDF? They will be able to print it or save it as a PDF. So you don't have to attach it as a PDF. They can do that themselves. They can click Pay Now if you've enabled the QuickBooks payments. Also, under that Activities tab is where you're going to see activity like this. So you'll see the date and time when it was sent. You also see the date and time when it was viewed. So that can make it kind of awkward. If your client says, well, I didn't get your invoice, you can say, oh, really? You looked at it here on December 12th at 1:29 p.m. And then your client might be like, oh, that invoice, because you know they got it and they looked at it. So don't attach it as a PDF. You want them to click that View Invoice so you capture that information. So I think that's super cool. So here's the online invoices where they're going to pay. So you've enabled the QuickBooks payments and your client's going to pay. They enter their bank account information or their credit card information. You don't see that. It's going through into its secure portal, which is very secure. They process billions of dollars in transactions all the time. So let's go into the polls. I just realized I haven't done a poll question yet. Let's ask you a poll question. So those of you that need CPE credit, please answer that poll question for me. All right, please answer the poll question. Somebody was trying to remind me that I needed to ask it. Thank you. Will it still include any attachments? Thank you, Brianna. Yes, it will. Is online invoice and ACH payment available in QuickBooks Desktop too? Yes, it is. You can email invoices and you can also get paid online with QuickBooks payments in QuickBooks Desktop. I'm not sure the fees with Desktop, if it's free for the ACH. If it's not free for the ACH payment, the bank payment, then it's 50 cents. So whether they pay you $500 or $5,000, it's 50 cents per transaction. Can they input a Visa debit card for free? No, Gary, plastic has fees associated with it. At least I'm pretty sure. You have to enter the bank account routing information for free. Okay, do most banks charge a fee for the ACH payments? No, they do not. Are the fees for the credit cards for us or the client that's going to charge you those fees? And what's really super cool, I'll show you in a minute, is it will automatically record the payment that was received and the associated fees with it. So that's really cool. All right. Let's see. If you have the credit card or bank marked, do they have to pay that way? Okay, so if you have credit card or bank transaction marked, do they have to pay that way or can they still send a check? Ramona, they can still send a check, but I really discourage people from mailing a check. I want them to just go ahead and put their bank account information in there and pay it online. That way I don't have to go to the bank. And it automatically records that payment received, applies it to the invoice, and any fees are automatically recorded as well. And they can save that payment information for the next time so they don't have to enter it all the time. So I think that's pretty cool. What happens with View Online when customer wants emails sent to their Bill.com inbox? Ooh, does the invoice still go to the Bill.com inbox? The invoice will go to whatever email address you put in there. Whether it marks it as View, I'm not sure. That would be something that we would have to test. So sorry about that. Somebody says gear icon. I'm on desktop. So on the desktop, to get into the accountant settings, you click on Edit on the top menu bar in the upper left corner. Click on Edit, Preferences, and that's where you're going to find those. All right. All right. That's enough time on that poll question. Let's go ahead and close that poll question if I can find it. There it is. All right, and I'll go ahead and share those results with you so you can see we got a pretty good split there between QuickBooks Online and Desktop, and then 27% of you are using both. So that's interesting. All right, that's very interesting. Thank you guys for answering that. All right, let me go ahead and hide that poll question. Okay, so we were talking about the online invoices. Here's what your client will see. They get this invoice, and then here's that activity tab where I had told you it's recording the date things were sent and viewed and all that. And if the client has a question for you about the invoice, you know, like you said it was going to be $250, how come it's $275? They can type a message in there, and all that messaging will be contained under that activity tab there in the right side here in the red. That activity tab has all of that, so you don't have to go look in your emails trying to find that information. It'll all be right there on that invoice, so that's kind of handy. All right, whoops, I got to get back into my right slide now. Okay, so back here, oh my goodness, I'm having a bad tech day. You guys ever have that? All right, so now let's talk about some of those quick reports that we have. All right, some of the reports. So after we've done all this invoicing and everything, where can we find our reports and things like that? So under our customers, you can come in here and obviously see across the top, like here would be all of your overdue invoices. If I just click on one of these boxes, it will filter. So now I just see all of my overdue invoices. One of the things that's kind of nice, but it's kind of not, is I can click here under batch actions. I can click on all my overdue invoices and I can do a batch, email them. So I can email people that have an overdue invoice, but the problem is it's a manual process. You have to remember to come in here and email those invoices or a second time to remind them that they haven't paid yet. That's where ARCollect is super cool, and I'm going to share that with you in a minute. You can set it up to automatically email these things, and it's great when you have overdue invoices for managing and collecting those sooner and faster and all that. But you can do that in here. If you wanted information on a particular customer, you can just click on the customer name like Amy, and then I would be able to see all the details for her. I could filter if I just wanted to look for invoices, let's say. I can look for just all invoices, apply. So here's all your invoices. And then again, if I wanted to, for some reason, print these all out or send them again, maybe they said, hey, can you send me these again? Or again, I could do a send reminders. But it's not automatic. You have to remember to do all that. Then also under the transactions and sales, in the sales center, this is where you could go in and filter and see all invoices for all customers if you wanted to by clicking right here. So you could go through and look for all invoices, things like that as needed. One of the things that's super cool in here is if I click on the little gear above this, notice where it says last delivered date. So I can click to see the last delivered. So that's going to help me see when I emailed that invoice to them. And this is a sample company, so we don't have any of those. But that's kind of nice to see, when's the last date we emailed that. So you could like filter for overdue invoices, come in there and look at your last delivered date and kind of see how that is. And it's interesting because in our customer center, if I click on that little gear, I can't see that field. Okay, there's no last delivered in the customer center. It's in the sales center. So under transactions and sales is where you'll find that. Okay, whoops, that's the wrong one. This one. There we go. All right. Okay, I am still in the wrong PowerPoint. Help me. Just teasing. All right. I will get there eventually. Let's close that one. I messed myself up because I opened a second email. QB Power Hour. Here we are. Okay, so we talked about some of that. So again, some of the limitations working in QuickBooks Online is we don't have those auto emails on those past due invoices. You have to remember to do that. One of the things that I like to do, let me just show you the reports real quickly too. Under reports, you could come out here if you're under all reports. I wanted to point out to you when you're working with your sales and accounts receivable, there's two different places to look. Under your Manage Accounts Receivable, this is where you can find your AR agings, the summary, the detail, customer balance detail, invoice list, the collections report. You might want to customize that and then save it and set it up to automatically email that to your customers or your clients. So what might be helpful, like take that collections report, customize it as needed, and automatically email it to your clients, like let's say every week, so they can try to stay on top of their open invoices. And that works if they don't have that many invoices, right? It's a good reminder if they don't have that many invoices. If there's lots of invoices, that's where you're going to want to use ARCollect that we're going to get into in just a moment. Also look under Review Sales at some of the reports that are available out there as well. All right, let's go ahead and do another poll question. And do you have clients with lots of accounts receivable? What are your clients like? Do they have lots of accounts receivable? A few? Just let me know where we're at on that. And I'm going to look and see if we have any questions that I need to answer while you guys are answering that poll question. Remember, the faster you answer it, the faster we can move on. All right, let's get to when you batch overdue invoices, do they get one notice or one for each overdue invoice? They will get one email, Jeffrey. Actually, now I'm not sure. I'd have to test it. I thought they got one email. Brianna, do you know the answer to that one? I'll let her maybe try to answer that one because I thought it was one email, but now I'm not sure. What about that send reminder button? Yes, you can send them a reminder by doing that as well. Is billable time a non-posting transaction? Yes, Lisa, it is. And should we delete those billable time entries that we never bill the client for? If you want to get them out of there, Lisa, yeah, it's a good idea to get those out of there. But they don't really hurt anything because they're non-posting. But yeah, if you wanted to get them out of there, do that. All right. See if there's some other stuff. How to access the sample company. So Brianna put that out there for you where you could go do that. The link for that test drive. You can also get to it from within QuickBooks Online Accountant. When you're on your client dashboard, under the gear in the far right column, it'll say sample company. All right. See if there's any other one. Is there a batch enter function in QBO? Tina, it depends on what type of transactions you're trying to enter. If you're trying to batch enter invoices, no, you'd need a third-party app for that, and there's several of them available. If you're trying to import bank and credit card transactions, absolutely, you can import those pretty quick and easy. All right, 10 seconds left on your poll question. Go ahead and answer that quickly so we can move along. All right, go ahead and answer that poll question if you need CPE credit. And I'm going to go ahead now, close it, and I'll share the results with you. So 58% of you have a few clients with lots of accounts receivable. 19% have quite a few. 18% don't have any clients with AR. All right, that's interesting. So yeah, service-based businesses a lot of times will have accounts receivable. Like a retail store, though, those are going to be cash basis, so they may not have many invoices. All right, so now let's talk about ARCollect, because this is a really super cool app for those clients that do have a lot of invoicing, especially to help them manage that. And again, this app works with both desktop and QuickBooks Online, so it will work for both of those. So you're going to have an AR aging summary page. I'm going to show you this in just a second, that shows you at a glance the three main collection activities: your contact notes from when you've contacted the clients and things like that, payment reminders, and then promises to pay. So let's say you contact them. Let's say Amy, she's past due on that invoice, and I contact her and she says she's going to pay next week. That's a promise to pay, so I can put that in there and I can kind of manage some of the cash flow with that. Let's go ahead and pop into ARCollect. Let's see which one I needed. This one. There we go. All right, so here is ARCollect, and I'm on my AR aging summary right now. See this? Oh, you're still seeing the poll question. Oh my goodness. All right, sorry about that. Let me end the poll. Hide the poll. There we go. All right, now we're back. Sorry about that. So here is ARCollect.
Not yet. Yeah, there it is.
There it is, yeah. So here at the top is your AR aging summary. I could take a look at my dashboard, which at a glance will show you your aging, the cash flow forecast based on those P2Ps, which is your promises to pay. So, if somebody's promised to pay on the 23rd, you're going to see the dates that they've promised to pay, help you with your cash flow to know what's going to be coming in. And these are the number of contact notes that you've had. Event summary, I'm going to actually get back to this one in just a moment here, but here's our AR aging summary, and this is like your main dashboard for everything. So this will be integrating with either desktop or online. You enter the invoice in QuickBooks Online, then it inputs or it refreshes over here. So it will refresh that invoice over here where I can then look at the aging here and I can manage my accounts receivable and I can follow up with emails and all that stuff. So first of all, let's look at this Coffee Zing, let's say. They've got $1,000 that's 61 to 90 days old. Let's say I want to send them an email real quick. All I would have to do is click over here on the far right column where it says email, and then up here on the top right, I can just email that selected customer. So I can email somebody one at a time if I wanted to right from this dashboard, but guess what's super cool? I can actually set it up to automatically email my customers. So for example, if I wanted to automatically email them when they're 31 days old, under setup in the upper right, see where I can go into my automated email setup? I'm going to be able to come out here and tell it how frequently do I want to do this. So this is going to show you customers with a valid email address. If you click this link here, you'll see if any of your customers either don't have an email address or have an invalid email. So you'll be able to see, make sure that you update them so that you can email invoices to them. Then in the bottom right corner or bottom left corner, this is where we're going to do our automated email setup. So do I want it to automatically send these email out, which I recommend if you've got lots of invoices, yes. You want to automate the collections process and the reminders and everything so that you keep collecting. With QuickBooks Online, you've got to remember to go out there and send those email reminders or send those statements out or whatever. But right here I can say I want it to be an automated email. How many days past due? I'm going to say I want it to do it at 30 days past due. Now that's after the due date. Let me go ahead and right-click and duplicate this so I can show you this back up here on my aging summary. So when you're looking at the due date, like let's go into that coffee zing that I had mentioned, it's picking that due date. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. I apologize. It's picking the due date for those invoices based on the terms from QuickBooks. So over here, you're going to be able to see, where did they go? Ivan, help me out.
Click on the balance. Click on the balance, $1,000.
Thank you. There it is right there. I was close. Thank you, Ivan. Here's the transaction date. Here's the due date based on the terms that you set up in QuickBooks. And then it will determine how many days past due after that due date for you. So it's calculating your due dates and everything. So then when you want to come in here and set up these email reminders, what you can do, let's say you want it to go out every 30 days. You don't want to remember. So first, as soon as they're 30 days past due, you want to send an email. Then how many days after that do you want it to send a follow-up email? Do you want it to do it every month? Maybe you want to send it every 10 days after that, so that they will continue to get these reminder emails. Do you want to attach those invoices to the email, exclude current invoices, or sometimes people like to see all of their invoices, not just the ones that are overdue. So you could do that. And then, maybe you don't want to send a reminder if it's less than $5. So you can set up your automated emails then. Here it's going to show you don't email these customers at all. Maybe I've got someone that I've already talked to and they're already making payments, so I don't want to send them email reminders and bug them. Maybe somebody's a family that's not paying you for whatever reason. You may not want to email them. So over here is the customers that will be automatically emailed according to the setup. So if I were to click send now, it would go ahead and send those emails right now. And then normally the emails go out at like 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If I sent these today, it's smart enough that at 8 o'clock tonight, it's not going to send them again. So because it knows that you just emailed them today. But if you just set this up and it comes along and they're 30 days past due, it's going to automatically send these emails out for you. So you don't have to remember to do that. So that's a huge time saver. Now, the other thing is, when you're in here, like let's say Coffee Zing, if I go into Coffee Zing and I say, okay, here's that invoice, I talked to them and they're going to send me the payment next week. Over here where it says the PDP, promise to pay, this is where I could come in here, and of course you probably have phone numbers and emails, but this is just a sample out here. I can have a reason, like I called them up, said, why aren't you paying? Maybe they said, oh, it was a price dispute, maybe they want their proof of delivery or whatever, cash flow problems. You can kind of put that in here. But under promise to pay, I'm going to put a date in here. Let's say they promise to pay me next week. So I could go ahead and enter that information, click save, and then that populates it in this promise to pay right here. We also then can have notes on these customers because we're contacting them wanting to follow up and get paid. So this is where we're documenting our collections procedures. So under contact note, I could say, called and P2P next week. So you can put whatever you want in here under your contact notes. Then also under an action note, I could say follow up to confirm received payment. So you can put in contact notes, what you talked to them about, action notes, what do I need to remember to do? And then you set your action date. So if she said she's going to pay by the 23rd, maybe I want to give her 1 day grace and do it on the 24th. And then I can save this. You're going to see a history under the customer name. Here's the contact notes that you've put in here. And then here's a record of all the emails that you have sent. Now, we haven't sent any on this one, but you can put all that contact information is right here. And those of you that have ever dealt with collections procedures and stuff, you know how important some of this stuff is. Let me go ahead and do one more poll question because I got started late on them. Let me do another poll question. Oh, wait, I want to wait on that one. So I'm going to wait a little bit more. Sorry. I teased you and then I didn't do it, but it got you paying attention, didn't I? All right, so that's under your customer notes where you can keep all this great information. Now, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like if you email. So here's this it's Arabic, I'll get it right, Arabic latte. Let's say I want to go ahead and email them. I'm going to click on email. Oh, wait, first let me go in and change it to, okay, I do have it in there. I've got my Gmail account in there. All right, so let's say I want to email them, and I'm going to click email it now because I want it to go ahead and go to me now. So let's go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to, but oh well, let's go into my other one. There we go. It should be at the top of the list. And this is the one I use for social media. So you're going to see all kinds of emails out there. Here's what it's going to look like when your client gets this. Let me move my GoToWebinar thing. You're going to see, Dear Tracy, here's a list of all the outstanding invoices. You're going to see all of this information here. It's going to list all these invoices. Check this out. I told it to attach them. So it attached all of those invoices automatically for me. All of their invoices are automatically attached. If you don't want them attached, you can just uncheck that box. The other thing that's super cool, so it gives them all this information up here, the promise to pay amounts and the dates that they've promised to pay all these things. If they want to click reply, see how it says in red, if you require a copy of the invoice, which we've already attached, proof of delivery, or any other comments, please click reply and enter the details in the table. Watch what happens when I click on reply. And I've got this zoomed so it's not working quite right. When I click reply and now I scroll down in that table, down and over, I can go over there and just type in here and type some of the stuff in that I need to make notes on. So you could put some of that information in there. So I think that's super cool on working with all of these customers and everything. If you want to know, who am I supposed to follow up with today? I put in there like on Coffee Zing to follow up next week. Who am I supposed to be following up with? What are my events? That's where I can go into my event summary. And in your event summary, you're going to see all of this information on action notes and again on promises to pay. So you're going to see that information out there. So you've got your action date over here. You can see what action you're supposed to take on things. Here's the one I did on Coffee Zing. So you can see the user, Michelle Long, Coffee Zing. Oh my goodness. Pop-ups, pop-ups. Sorry about that. So this is, oh, stop it. This is a nice, convenient place where you can see, everything that's coming, maybe for the next one day. Just things I need to do tomorrow or the next 7 days. So you can filter to see, what you need to be following up on under action notes, and then also promises to pay. You can be looking in there and seeing, who promised to pay in the next 7 days, so you can keep an eye out for them. So your event summary is great. Also under your aging summary, at a glance, you not only see the buckets for how overdue they are, their total balance. Right here you see their promises to pay. What have they committed to pay? What's the last note date, the last email that you've sent out, and what agent is it, and the last contact note. So especially for clients with lots and lots of invoices and collections, they may have 3 or 4 agents with specific customers that they're assigned to follow up and collect. Maybe if Ivan's an agent on here, maybe Ivan's doing A through G and somebody else is doing H through N and somebody else is doing the rest of the alphabet. You may be sorting these customers by agent and tracking them by agent as well. So I love this dashboard here where at a glance you can see all of this information, much better than what you've got in QuickBooks Online. You could also choose which customers you want to see. If you wanted to see just certain aging buckets, like maybe I just want to see all the ones that are super old, and I could go ahead and just look at those that are over 121 days old. So you can do some sorting depending on what you're wanting to see, which customers you want to see. If your aging is not a 30-day period, you can change your aging periods out here. Maybe you've got 15-day terms, so you want to change the number of days past due. You can kind of change your aging periods as needed. Go ahead and save that. All right, and why is it not closing? There we go. Okay, you can display all customers or just certain customers depending on what you're wanting to look at. Again, you can indicate whether you want to email current invoices or not. And like I said, some Some customers want to see all their invoices, not just overdue, so they know their full balance. Attach the invoices or not. Do you have that automatic emailing turned on? You can turn it on or off. The other thing that you can do is you can have multiple templates. So if I wanted to go under, let's say, all of those that are 121 days past due, so all those that are super old, notice over here where it says template 7. See how it says template 7 right up here in the upper right corner? If I were to email them, they wouldn't get the standard one. They're going to get the template 7 because under your setup, you can go under email templates, and as they get older, your language can get firmer. Like, you know, we're giving up on you. We are ready to send it over to collections or something. So like here's template 7. You know, we've contacted you several times. It's still outstanding. You're not adhering to our terms, blah, blah, blah. You're on hold now. And, you know, so you can have firmer language. So you can set up your email templates to use with different aging periods as well. So you kind of get harsher with the language as you go along. So you can customize those invoice templates as needed. And this is super easy to do, this customization in here. I mean, if you're familiar with working in Word, it's very familiar, and you can put in these fields that will populate based on the customer and things like that. So those are your email templates. And then under the email settings, if you want to go through and customize some of the settings for your emails with specific to, from, and BCC, if you want to send a copy to somebody or a blind copy to somebody, you can go and do some of that. If you're super advanced, you can click on this and you can go in and do even more customization with those email settings. Then also, of course, you can manage users. And just like with QuickBooks Online Accountant, where you can indicate which user has access to which clients, in here you can assign, so like under, you know, Michelle, you know, maybe they're only going to give me access to like these 3 clients or something. You know, you can choose which clients or customers you want to give them access to. So you can restrict access. So each agent may have their own specific accounts that they work with. So you can kind of do that as needed. Or you can give them access to everything. So that's super cool. Oh, and there's unlimited users. Like 999 users. And I talked to Ivan about giving all of you, if you're a pro advisor, a free account. So you can hook this up with your own QuickBooks and start using it and playing with it. Or Ivan also has given us where you can log in and test it out and play with it and things like that. Then also under reports, if you want to see your contact notes summary, so this is where, you know, you may have all your agents working on the collections. You want to come in here and review things. You can come in here, and of course you can customize some of this so you can see just some customers or all customers, which users, how do you want to sort it. You can come in here though and look at the contact notes so you can kind of see what's going on. So as the owner of the business, you may want to be managing and seeing what's going on and you know, monitor the status. Also then the contact notes detailed report, that's going to go customer by customer and show you the details there. Instead of just the last note, you'll see all of this activity right here. So you can see, you know, kind of the history of that account. So that's customer by customer. Again, you can filter this if you want to look for a specific one. We also then have that promise to pay report. Let's say you're working on cash flow and you want to know what's coming. You can come in here and look at this for specific dates. So you can sort it by your dates so you know how much you have coming and from who real quickly. So I think ARCollect is amazing. It's really super cool, especially like I said, for those customers or clients that have a lot of invoices that they need to manage those collections. Let me go back in here to some of our notes, make sure. So we talked about the contact notes, and we've got all this in here so you guys can go in and play with it. We talked about the contact notes and how you can work with those. You can also sort, so the last note is on the top if you wanted to look at that. Your payment reminders, again, we can do those instant emails on that AR summary where I emailed one by itself, or you can set it up to automatically email those so you don't have to remember to do that. And that's where I showed you briefly how to set those rules up for those recurring emails for their payment reminders. And then you can specify the number of days past due that you want it to start triggering those reminders. Whoa. Click too fast. Also then your promises to pay, that's super cool to help you to know when they're supposed to pay so you can follow up with it, and it also helps you with your cash flow to know what's coming in the next week and things like that. Couple of key differentiators, and I think I set up some of these, or I mentioned some of these when we were going through it. That instant email and the auto emails are huge. And then I also love how you can have those invoices attached when you do email them. And then also, you've got a high response from customers. They a lot of times will, have a response within minutes of sending it to them. So if you guys want to play with this, I put the handouts on the GoToWebinar guide. You should be able to click on your GoToWebinar toolbar under handouts, get the handouts here, log in, so type in this URL, or you can click the link in that PDF. This is going to be the email address that you're going to log in. So this is your sign-in email address, and then this is your password, PowerHour1. So you can go out there and play around with a sample account, kind of like, I was just playing around with it. Those are all fictitious customers and stuff. It's not a real account or anything. But the best thing to do is get in there, hands-on, play with it, use it, try it out. Ivan, do you want to go ahead and add some additional information or answer some questions that might have been coming in?
I think you've covered most of the stuff there, Michelle. You've done a great job. Thank you. I see a couple of questions there. How does ARCollect integrate with desktop versus QBO? So how it integrates with QBO is just direct with the APIs. With QB Desktop, we use the QuickBooks Web Connector. The integration in terms of payments, this Maria asked, well, everything, all transactional data is synced, and you can sync it as often as you're required to sync it. See, as far as the security of the data and the whole security issue, if you guys are aware, Intuit require all the apps that are listed on the App Store to go through a very rigorous security review, and this happens annually. They outsource it to Cigital, who are independent data security specialists, and you've got to pass that test. So Intuit take a lot very seriously. As far as any other questions, yeah.
So I had something to add too. So for those of you that are using QuickBooks Desktop, if you want to go find it in the App Store for desktop, I put that URL in there for you. It's desktop.apps.com. So you can find ARCollect in either apps.com for QuickBooks Online or desktop.apps.com. So it'll be in both of those for you. Ivan, I've got your email address up there. Is that where you want them to contact you if they want a free account?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
That will work.
Let me go ahead and launch another poll question for you. So this is poll question number 3. So you guys go ahead and work on that poll question while we answer some of these questions. So Ivan, can you use ARCollect when you're using a hosting provider? So with QuickBooks Desktop and you're using a hosting provider such as Right Networks, ARCollect would still work with that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sure. It will work in any environment. If you're working with desktop, then you just need to install that web connector wherever QuickBooks, the company file, is installed. So it's
okay.
The QuickBooks web connector gets installed one time on one PC, and then you go online and it's an online app, just like you've displayed tonight. Or well, not tonight, today.
Well, it's night for you. It's night for you.
It's evening, evening over here. And yeah, the web connector, it works great. You just got to know how to install it first time.
And then there's several questions. Is this available in Canada? And what other countries would it be available in?
We've got clients in Canada, Australia, the UK, Puerto Rico, Chile,
awesome,
across the globe.
Awesome.
Yeah, it works everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super, yeah, because we had several Canadians on here. Yay,
yeah, Canada's, we got a lot of Canadians from all over. They're great. And what was my other point? Sorry, yeah. ARCollect was actually launched 4 years ago, so we've been around for quite a long time, and prior to that we integrated with Sage, so we've got a lot of experience in the receivable space.
Okay, so Ivan, what about when you've got a customer that has staggered payment terms? Like, let's say they have 25% due in 30 days, 25% in 60 days, and then 50% later. Do you handle those kind of payment terms?
Right now, we only handle one at a time, but we're on our roadmap is to add the functionality so that you can track those staggered payment terms. So at the moment, you can only put in one promise to pay date with a given amount at any time.
Yeah,
However, we will change that.
One workaround for that would be to do a separate invoice for each payment terms. So do one invoice for 25%, another invoice for 25%, and then another invoice for the 50%. That might be a workaround. And Ivan,
possible.
How do you want them to access the free subscription? Do you want them to just email you, or is there another website they should go to, or what?
Well, first of all, they can sign up. Everyone's entitled to a 30-day free trial. So that's automatic. And if they're enjoying it, they just pop me an email, and we'll extend their trial indefinitely. It's a lifetime free trial.
For your firm, not for your clients. That's for you all to use as pro advisors. And I put
sure.
I put the website in the chat box. Let me go ahead and end this poll question. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So there you can see Ivan's address. And in the questions box, I just typed in there arcollect.net is the URL where you can go learn about it. And then someone else had a question: can I schedule sales receipts to process payments at a future date? Some of the payments aspect is going to be through QuickBooks Payments, and what you can do with that sales receipt, you could set it up to be recurring and put in there when you want it to happen. And then when you enter the sales receipt, you make sure you enter that payment information, like their credit card account or the bank account information, and then you make sure you check the box that says process payment upon saving or creating or something like that. So you would be doing that stuff in QuickBooks. That's not part of ARCollect. ARCollect is great for the managing and the collecting of your accounts receivable and staying on top of the collections process and everything. So hopefully that answered her question. Let's see what else we have. Yes, it is compatible with QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, so it will work for both of those. Will the customer still have the option to pay online using Intuit Payments? Absolutely, Denise. They can still click on the invoice where there's a link where they can pay it online. Ivan, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just in terms of QuickBooks Desktop, we have a lot of desktop users because they tend to have the most customers, the highest volume of transactions. So desktop really find us really extremely helpful in terms of managing their receivables. So it's just worth noting. And we're designed to handle high volume of transactions and a high volume of emailing. So it really works well for those guys that have got a large number of receivables. So,
Ivan, here's a question I have no idea. Is ARCollect HIPAA compliant? HIPAA is our health stuff. Here in the U.S., like if you're dealing with medical information, they have HIPAA requirements to protect privacy of the patients and stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay. Look, the only answer I can have to that is we didn't design it to be HIPAA compliant, but we're compliant with the requirements of QuickBooks and Intuit's security. So everything that happens in ARCollect is totally in a secure environment, and there's no one that could possibly access that information from the outside.
Okay, and Ivan, here's another complex question. So when I sent that email and I pulled it up and I showed you, or I showed everybody how the invoices were attached to that email, if they're using QuickBooks Payments, when they open that invoice, will it still have the Pay Now link on there?
You know, it used to, and I think QuickBooks have changed that, so it doesn't always display that link. We actually have to find out further from Intuit about that. But right now, I believe it doesn't have that link in it. Originally it did.
Okay.
So something's happened on the QuickBooks side.
Yeah, Intuit did make some changes recently. All right, I see we're at the top of the hour. Ivan, do you have a few minutes to stay a little bit longer for a couple more
Sure,
questions?
I'm available.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, though, for those people that have to jump off at the top of the hour, here is your final CPE question, final poll question for those of you who need CPE credit. So go ahead and answer that, and while you're answering that, I would just remind you, next QB Power Hour on March 30th, we're going to be talking about tips for your ProAdvisor profile and social media tips, some marketing type of information for you all. And that's on March 30th, and that will be a ACE approved course. So we want you to make sure if you need ACE credit so you don't miss that one. So that's a little reminder for you. And then a couple of other questions. Can we use this for our clients, or do they have to purchase a separate subscription for us to collect for them? So each client of ours would have their own subscription, and up at the top, the very, very top, I can show you this in just a second, is where you can choose which company you want to log into. So let's say you're working on client A, and then you got to go into client B and do some work for them. It's real quick and easy to switch in and out of clients. Just like with QuickBooks Online Accountants, you can do that stuff. All right, if you need CPE credit, please go ahead and answer that. Well, thank you, Kevin. He says, great presentation. As always, learned a lot. Thanks so much. Well, thank you, guys. And then a lot of people are interested in your ARCollect. Come on. Okay, let's give you 10 more seconds for this last poll question, everybody. And I'll close that poll question. All right, last call. It's gone. All right, let me go back into ARCollect. Okay, let me go back into ARCollect and show you, whoops, if I can get into it, and show you, got to pop the questions out of my way. Up here at the top, see where it says Deluxe Espresso? This is where if I click on this drop-down list up here, if I had multiple companies, like let's say I had 3 or 4 clients that I'm managing accounts receivable for them, I could just pop in and out of the clients up there real super easy. And that's another thing. If you find clients that have lots of invoices and things like that, this is a great opportunity for you to manage their collections procedure and manage their accounts receivable. It's a great opportunity to grow your business and grow your practice, and this is a fabulous app for doing some of that. You can refresh the data at any time, or you can specify, you know, how frequently you want it refreshed. If you're using QuickBooks Desktop, you can indicate how often you want it to refresh automatically. But with QuickBooks Online, every time I go over here to my event summary and then come back to my AR aging summary, it's refreshing when I do that. It's like always connected when you're working with the online, QuickBooks Online as opposed to QuickBooks Desktop. So that's something to keep in mind as well. All right, is there anything else that you wanted me to cover or show them up here?
I think you've done a great job. Thank you, Michelle. It's awesome.
Okay,
yeah.
Any other questions that we need to answer? And those of you that do have to jump off, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll see you back and not too long from now.
Okay. Just reading through the questions.
And I want to thank Intuit's customer care reps. I know we had Brianna on here. I'm not sure who else. Thank you to Intuit. Looks like we had Stephanie as, no, Heidi as well. So thank you for helping answer the questions. I love that Intuit customer care helps us out, and we get some of the great agents to help answer our questions during QB Power Hour. So thank you all for that.
Thank you.
All right.
That was awesome.
Okay.
Cool,
well,
Michelle.
I don't see any other urgent questions on here. So thank you all for attending today. Ivan, thank you for being part of QB Power Hour. We really appreciate it. And also one of our ongoing sponsors that we always have, T-Sheets. I think I missed their last slide. All right. I muted myself by mistake. I am having a bad tech day. So thank you again.
You're having a good day.
Thank you again to T-Sheets for being our platinum sponsor, and thank you, Ivan, for today and ARCollect.
You're very welcome.
Again, follow up with him if you want that free trial, and use the link in the slides to go test it out and play with it yourselves a little bit. Thank you guys all for joining us today. I hope you have a great one. Thanks, Ivan, Stephen, for answering questions.
Michelle.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Awesome. Catch you later. Bye.